We are tonight's entertainment.
You can't handle the truth.
The fire rises.
Pizza time.
You're a wizard, Harry.
So it begins.
You know how much I sacrifice?
You think that's air you're breathing?
Groovy.
I don't have friends. I got family.
We are Sex People! 1, 2, 3, 4!
Craft Services.
Hello, Trent. How you doing? Oh, you're not here? This is just a bit Part's doing again. Yes, folks, sorry to say, we do not have our other co-host for this intro, as we're getting pretty busy, folks. I'll get a little bit more into it after I tell you what I've eaten most recently. Most recently, I was over at friend off the show, but hopefully soon friend of the show, Andrew Alexander's house, at college. He's a year younger than me, one of Trent's cohort, and he graciously invited me over to his house as they were grilling on the barbie, and they made me some sandwiches and vegetable type stuff. So that was pretty cool. But what's pretty cool also is our intro music. So why don't we just cut into it? Welcome back to Craft Services, where we talk about the movies. Each week we talk about a film and hopefully have a crew member of that film to talk with us about their experience working on the picture. This week we are continuing our conversation with Maria Rusche, cinematographer of none other than Bottoms. That's right. This is part 2 of our discussion with her, but also part 2 of our second interview with her. So you could call that a part 2 of our part 2 with her. Yeah, she gets into some specific scenes, and overall, just, we have a mighty good time. And really, what else could you expect? So why don't I just stop making us all wait for it and just cue the interview. So, Trent, unless you have any other questions, I kind of wanted to get into some, sort of go through the movie with, some specific scenes that we thought were interesting to go through.
Kick it off, Parth.
Yeah, so, the opening-ish stuff in the movie takes place, I guess at a carnival. And so if you could talk about shooting that stuff, just because I always think a carnival is a very cool place to shoot.
Oh yeah, it is, and yet it is not a cheap place to shoot. That was a difficult location, just because to shoot at an actual carnival, look, there wasn't really one, and so we had to bring in a lot of decorations and kind of booths and stuff like that. But, we had, that was one of the locations we had maybe the most conversations about early on, because shooting also at night, it was over, I think, 2 nights. It's just hard. It's expensive because you, need to put up a lot more lights.
Right.
And that costs money. And so there was a brief time when, we were kind of pitched on making that scene a day scene, and we thought about it, and Emma and I were both like, man, it's one of the first scenes of the movie, which I just think the first 15 minutes basically of your movie, people are so critical. I really think you have to win people over in the first 15 minutes. And I think it's really valuable to put as many resources as you can kind of into that, because if you can make that shit look cool, I think you buy yourself a lot of kind of credit for later. And so we were it's at night, a carnival, romantic, cool, fun, edgy, you've got all your twinkle lights in the background and stuff, you've got all this bokeh, the textures there. And we're just sitting there picturing the scene being during the day, and we're just unsexy, boring, sad,
unromantic.
Like who's like nobody cool is going to a daytime carnival, I'll tell you that.
Yep.
So it was just like, no, we just can't do that. But so it's like, there's just so much, that prep is mostly like a series of, do you compromise on this or not? And, yeah, it's tricky to know what stuff's going to matter and what's not. And I think that Emma and I were largely like aligned on those things, which really helps. But yeah, so the carnival, we had, I think 2 days for the carnival. We shot also the parking lot scene. That location was genuinely right outside, like that, where they hit Jeff. And, it was tough. It like rained so much in New Orleans while we were there. That's where we shot. And, basically every evening it rained in like thunderstorms. So we'd get shut down for a little bit. So we did end up having to cut down like a lot of coverage, but it kind of works out because again, I think like Emma and I were both really committed to like the look being important. So just a lot of times we'd have to kind of cut, like additional singles that we wanted to get. But for the most part, we were able to design it so that like the meat of the scene would be covered in like the main coverage that we wanted. So for example, like when Rachel and I are kind of first walking in and they see like the hot girls and then they see like Mathieu, that was kind of our ode to like every high school has the intro kind of cafeteria scene where it's like, this is this group, this is that group. So that was kind of our homage to that. And, but we were able to keep kind of like a lot of exposition within that blocking, and it gets them over to the area they need to be in. And so like, yeah, I think we just designed the blocking to like fit in with the, like the main thrust, I guess, of the scene. So it made it easy to not kind of like fall back on boring coverage, I guess.
And like I don't even know that I'm interested in talking about the scene necessarily, but a mini like visual that like even thinking about it like makes me laugh is when they walk into like the classroom for the first time and there's the football player in the cage in the background out of focus. And it's unexplained until later on and you understand like, oh, that's what that was. And if you could talk about shooting that, because it's like one of the weirdest, with all due respect, like it's like done really well. It's just like such a bizarre visual that goes unexplained. And it's like so funny to me. Amazing.
That's so great. Yeah. I am obsessed with the cage. Yeah, it was, I think that was honestly one of the things that like kind of helps explain tone, because there were definitely a lot of conversations around like, it's a cage. It's like with bars and like, or like a dog cage. How big is it? And like, we realized it kind of had to be on wheels because they clearly roll him around like from class to class, I guess. Like you end up having these conversations about like, okay, logistically, do they fit this through the doorway? Like, how is this cage moving around? And, but I think it really, another thing we talked about a lot with like the classrooms was just how, it would be one of those classrooms kind of again from like classic high school movies where you're like, what class do they teach in here? There's like beakers and there's also like books, posters of books. And there's like history posters around. Like it's just always, generic AI class, like paraphernalia.
Yes.
And I think we wanted in a way too, for like the cage to feel that way, because it's like, oh yeah, like you're in a classroom. There's like some science stuff in the back. Jeff's got a beaker and then you're like, and there's the sort of guy in the cage for sure. And I think because it comes back later, it felt like, we don't have to explain it right now.
Yeah. I mean, it was like what locked me into the movie's tone, I feel like.
Nice.
Because before then, I was like, I think I get it. And then I saw that, and I was like, I get it.
Yeah. You're like, say no more.
So you mentioned Fight Club, which I'm sure is like slightly an apt comparison, but I think comparing it like too much is like, because it's like so not like Fight Club at the end of the day. But you mentioned watching it, and you mentioned, and there's like a whole sort of Fight Club montage, like when they're first like getting the girls together, and how, if at all, did Fight Club influence this movie? I guess due to the sort of inherent like people wanting to put them together.
Right. I mean, I think like it's interesting because I think I know Rachel and Emma really kind of tried not to watch it when they were writing, which makes total sense because I think thematically it's largely unrelated, which I think is important. Like, or I think that made me feel more comfortable including some of the visual language, because I think if it were more thematically related, it would just be like, why are you just trying to do like girl fight club? Like, this is weird. But it's totally thematically a different thing. But I am a big David Fincher fan, and I think that there's a lot of
good company.
When he was name dropped in the film, I was the biggest laugh in the audience, just because it's so funny to hear that name spoken in a narrative film.
I know. I'm like, I am dying. I'm like, somebody please get a video of like David Fincher finding out about this movie and just being like, what? Just be
and then that could be the whole reaction. Then he could skip to the next thing.
Fully. He'd be like, I'm moving on. But
have you seen David Fincher like reacting to like the 5-minute long applause at the Venice Film Festival? He's like, what the fuck is going on?
Parth, I thought you were gonna say during the COVID Oscars, where every time he lost.
Oh no, not that he took a shot.
He took a shot. But sorry.
Anyways, sorry to interrupt.
Sorry,
just
David.
remembered that.
Blessings to him. When Emma and I kind of started looking for our references, I started bringing in some of the visual language from Fight Club, because I thought there was, first of all, I think, again, when we were first looking through references, a lot of it's like, it's not just specifically to be like, this is going to be the camera movement, this is going to be this. It's to figure out like tone, like what are we kind of saying, and like how have other movies said similar things. And something I think is so interesting about Fight Club and so compelling is like the fighting obviously kind of represents something else for them. And it kind of is a way for the men in this movie to like share intimacy in a way that like men are not really able to. And there's, and it is so visually evocative because they're beating the shit out of each other. They're so bloody, but they're wearing like their regular clothes and they're smiling the whole time. Like they're blissed out. And that was something that I was really struck by and that we like took a lot of, because, there was conversations at the beginning of like, maybe the girls have like a gym uniform that they wear or something, but we're like, these are teenage girls beating the shit out of each other. Like, they need to be wearing their just like clothes that they're wearing to school. Like that's so great. And then like they're having a great time, but they're bloody. Like they're just having a great time. And so I think there was a lot from that vibe that we took. And I think that the way that they block a lot of the fighting in the Fight Club, in Fight Club, is really smart and is really like, I think you're getting a sense of who's important, and you're seeing the fighting in an interesting way, but and then it feels really full and you feel this like camaraderie. And so I think we took kind of a lot of notes from their blocking, but I think the way that it feels different is like we didn't really take any of the lighting at all. So I think part of what makes it, part of what I found like fun and interesting about that was like yeah, again, they're beating the shit out of each other, but they're in like kind of a well-lit gym. Whereas like Fight Club's so dingy and like dark, and it's moody and stuff. Yeah, exactly. And this is like, there's something that just fits our tone and our like parody so much better because the lighting it's like so much more lit.
Okay, so I was wondering, I was watching like the fight sequence, and I was like, I think this is a Steadicam shot, and then I thought, I wonder what DP Maria Ruschi's preferred method of moving the camera is, and so I'm asking you.
Nice, yeah. I think I would say just what fits, I suppose, like for the shot that we've designed, because it's you realize like a lot of the different ways to move the camera have like pros and cons to them, right? Because Steadicam is like pretty quick and fairly efficient, because you're not having to lay track. You're not really stuck with that exact camera move, but you're losing a little bit of precision. So yeah, you're relying a bit on the operator to get it exactly right, and it's not going to be as like rock solid as using a dolly, for example. So, we did use a lot of Steadicam on this movie and a good amount of dolly because we did a lot of those push-ins. Like a lot of those push-ins, I think, are better to do with a little slider or a dolly or something, because that way you're getting it kind of like perfectly right every time. And if you're starting or landing in a locked off shot, like the Steadicam is always going to give you a little bit of wobble.
To sort of bring it towards more the end of the movie, you talked a little bit about the fighting when talking about sort of this movie's relationship to Fight Club, but the third act of this movie essentially features a battle scene, and that is something I don't know that you had done before, and sort of what was it like having to approach that level of just like physical complexity, I guess.
Yeah, honestly, it was so fun because I really love action movies. So I was like stoked for it. And I think a lot of the references that we used were, like I said, Edgar Wright based. And we also used Kick-Ass like a bunch, but World's End was a big one for us because there's like a few. Yeah, there's the fight scenes and that are just so fun. We realized that all the movies we were referencing had the same like stunt coordinator, this guy Brad Allen, who I guess
worked with Jackie Chan.
Exactly, yeah, he came from the Jackie Chan camp, I suppose, and it makes so much sense because you're like, yeah, the fighting is so funny, and it's like you can really like. They interact with the space and like with the people in a funny way. And I feel like the fighting is telling a story in a way that's like really fit our world. Like, so we kind of started, I mean, what's funny about fight scenes is like on the page, it just says, you know, the girls like fight the football players and like kick their ass basically. And that's what it says in the script. So I kind of encouraged Emma to like break that down into like beats of story sort of. So we kind of together took like post-it notes and stuff and went through and we're like, okay, so, you know, we want like PJ to be fighting the main quarterback from the other team. And they like their fight is going to be the one that kind of we track throughout this like little sequence. So, you know, maybe she starts and goes in and she's like doing okay. She's like throwing some punches and then she's like not doing great. And then she's like, she really looks like she's not going to make it. And then like somebody like Brittany comes in and kind of saves her. And that's a moment of reconciliation for them because they're kind of teaming up against the guy. And then PJ would kind of get the final, like, something to really, like, lock in her victory. So that's kind of how we, like, broke down the sequence initially. And then we slotted in, like, moves to what those actually would be. And yeah, again, we took a lot of, like, inspiration from, like, stitching together different moves and different, like, interactions between the girls to kind of tell a story and to do something funny and give them an opportunity to, like, look cool and see their moves. And then I shot it all on my viewfinder app. So, you know, for stunts, you'll do a lot of previs, like the actors are learning the moves, and then I'll shoot the actual shot on my viewfinder. You know, a lot of times you'll have, like, a fight choreographer or something who will do that, but we didn't have enough money for that. So that was kind of us. And, that's basically, like, what the fight sequence is in the end. It's even more, it could even be more, like, of a oneer, but it was, condensed slightly just for, like, kind of time and pacing. But a lot of the stitched shots kind of made it in there together anyway. It's like a lot of whip pans and things like that. So yeah, that's kind of how we, like, broke it down. We had a whole whiteboard of, like, post-it notes.
So, did you say the explosions were real? It's okay if I misheard.
Yeah, we actually blew up Jeff's car, but the tree was visual effects. The tree at the end.
Cool. So, but say for the car, which was real explosion, I'm sure if you were working on, like, Transformers or something, like, they'd blow up the car, like, 50 times if they had to. And, like, this being, like, a mid-budget studio comedy, one that I love, I'm sure it's, like, you could only blow up the car, like, 5 or 10 times or something. Is that a correct, like, when is your
Once.
opportunity with just once?
Once. We got one take. 3 cameras,
Cool.
1 take. Yeah. But
Cool.
like, on a bigger budget movie, also, there, like, a second unit is going to be doing all that stuff.
Right,
and
yeah.
so in a way, it's kind of fun to be at this budget level because, like, we were doing a lot of, like, even stunts and the fight stuff would get, you know,
Yeah.
turfed to, like, a second unit director. And it's like,
Yeah.
I really liked being the one still to be able to execute it. It was, yeah, I think it helps just the cohesion and to tie all the pieces together. And, you know, we still had to kind of, that was one of the first sequences we photo boarded. That's, like, kind of a process that I've come to do on basically everything that I do now, which is, like, you know, you have the viewfinder photos from my phone, from the actual location of, like, what the shots are going to be. And then that goes in a document on my iPad that's essentially in edit order often that shows what the sequence is going to look like, but it'll have little notes that are, like, for example, the wide shot when Hazel's running away from the car and she's like, it's gonna blow, it's gonna blow. Like, the car, we wanted the car to explode behind her and for her to kind of, like, dive out of frame. You know, the actor can't actually be in the shot if the car is exploding. So we knew that was going to be a visual effects shot. So it was going to be her actually running away from the car. Then it was going to be the same frame with the car exploding and without the actor in it. And those would get composited together. So all those little notes are in there. Cause again, the hardest thing with, like, this scope and increasing in budget level and size, I felt, was, like, making sure all the information was disseminated and that you had all the, like, pieces that you need for each set piece and stuff. And nothing, like, fell through the cracks.
Are there any visual effects except for, like, the big explosion at the end and then some of the more, like, violent killing stuff? Is there any, like, sneaky effects in there? It's okay if the answer is no.
Sneaky effects. I think there's, like, a few split screens. That's, like, a trick I know.
Whoa, how David Fincher of you.
A lot of editors use. So I think there were a few of those, but not a ton.
Cool.
I guess the last sort of bottoms question I'd like to ask is, now that you've like finished the movie and can look at it in retrospect, what was the most difficult thing on the movie to work on, and what are you most ultimately proud of? And they can be like the same thing or different things.
Yeah. I mean, it is probably obvious, but like, I think the fight stuff at the end was like, I mean, it was tough, I think, it was tough to get people to kind of like understand that was going to be a real fight sequence. And again, it's like, once you see it, it's so much easier to understand. But before we had shot any of that, it was like, I think that there was a sense that this was a like teen high school comedy. It was like, you know, there's some explosions in Superbad, but like, I think we had this sense that people thought the fighting was going to kind of like be like the girl version or something. It was going to be like, oh, surely you're not actually doing a fight scene. So I think initially not that many resources were like allotted there. We didn't have like a ton of like shooting time. And so those are just the things, again, like scaling up, like and trying to make sure you're conveying what you need correctly so that you're getting like the resources that you need. It is hard. So I think that was really tricky just because we had to work a lot to get kind of what we needed, which was like more stunt previs time, more shooting time for like the stunts at the end. And we did have a bunch of kind of like specialty gear for that stuff. And I will say the weather like never cooperated. Like it was always raining or thunder and lightning. And actually for that last scene too, like speaking of sort of sneaky VFX is like the, you know, we couldn't actually fill the stadium bleachers with, I don't know how many people. It was like a couple thousand people. So that required a lot of like tiling. So it was, you know, having 200 extras, moving them around, and then creating the plate that way. And it's expensive. So we were kind of limited in the number of shots we could do that faced that direction. So it's kind of like trying to balance all of that stuff but not making too many compromises. I think it's tricky, but I think I'm glad we prioritized it because it does feel like it's a good payoff.
In that example, it's particularly a good payoff because it's like they turn around and then it's like, oh, there's like thousands of people who just watched us commit this act of violence. So I think it bred a really funny beat. Here's a second to last question. What are you working on now, if you're at liberty to say, or what's next?
Yeah, man. Well, it's a weird time. It's a weird time.
Oh, yeah, for obvious reasons.
Oh, is something going on right now?
Just the normal stuff. No, sort of the whole industry is changing. You know how it is again. But yeah, it's pretty crazy out there. Like it's both thrilling and terrifying because I'm like, this is such a cool moment to, you know, of like solidarity and like union consciousness and like trying to take some of the power away from these big studios who are all they're giving us is like Marvel and like toy sponsored movies, and like what a good opportunity to make independent content or like even just smaller studios that are willing to agree to better ages and like letting more people in on the success of the movie that they made. Like it just is insane to me that like the crew who literally makes the movie doesn't get any piece of it. and it's like all these people sitting in an office who are benefiting from it and deciding what gets made. But so I'm excited that hopefully something fresh will come from this. But right now it's a little bit of like waiting. I'm like attached to a few things, but they're all kind of like strike dependent, which is tough. So I'm kicking around instead the idea of a cooperatively owned studio. That's my pitch. It's owned by like crew members basically, and the people who actually make movies and understand how movies are made. And they would the people, making the film would own a piece of it. So that's my idea.
I think that makes too much sense to happen in this world, you know?
That's such a good point. Such a good point. I'll keep dreaming though.
Sorry, just at the rate we're at the speed we're headed. Parth, you think it's time for the Big Kahuna final question?
Yeah, it's something you've faced before. But the Big Kahuna final question is...
It's back for you.
What's the last great film you watched? And it can be a first-time viewing or a rewatch.
Man, it's funny. It's funny that we're back here. Oh, actually, well, I will say it's actually perfect because I recently rewatched Constantine.
Oh, did you say John Wick 4?
It was either John Wick 4 or Point Break or something. It was like, so we were on the Keanu train.
I remember that.
Yes.
We were on the Keanu train, and look, I haven't got enough.
Wow.
I'm still
Perfect.
on it.
I still have to see Constantine.
It's a blast. It's a blast. It's so silly. It's so funny though, because you can tell everybody, like so many people who worked on it, like watched The Matrix, you know?
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I mean of like the Fight Club thing of like, if we were copying the camera moves, like the blocking and the lighting and the themes, it's like, okay, well, so you're just making Fight Club again. And I feel like Constantine sort of does that because it's very similar, but it's still sweet. And Tilda Swinton plays the Archangel Gabriel. Sick.
Oh,
just sick.
Okay, cool.
So
awesome. And maybe we're getting a sequel to it. So.
Oh, I didn't know that. I was gonna say Tilda Swinton is the second lead in David Fincher's upcoming new movie. Just to tie it all together.
We're just trying to tie it all in, and we're just trying to get David Fincher's attention, and hopefully it works.
I thought about that statement after you made it, and I guarantee, like, I don't think he's gonna like tweet about it or something. No offense, but I guarantee he's like someone mentioned it to him.
Someone had to have sent him like a TikTok.
Yeah. Oh, well,
wow. The thought of David Fincher watching a TikTok. That's interesting.
He has to like take his glasses off.
I say we try to cover this in our next episode.
Yeah.
The next awesome movie, UDP, you are more invited to be our first third-time guest. Since you are our second-time guest, you'll be our first third-time guest, if that works for you.
What a dream come true.
Yes.
Thank you so much,
yes.
Maria Rusche, for coming on again. She came on for Shiva Baby, and now she's on, or was on, for Bottoms.
Which is now in a theater near you, and everyone should see it as quickly as possible. It gave me the giggles this morning.
Awesome. Thank you.
What an interview. Thank you so much to Maria Rusche for coming back on the show. It truly was a pleasure to have her again, and we hope to make her a 3-time guest. As I alluded previously, it's going to be a weird couple of months for Craft Services. We still definitely are going to be getting you weekly episodes, but it's going to be a little strange. Trent's still in college. I'm no longer in college, and I have started directing my feature film. More news on that later, I guess, when there's more news to tell. But yeah, it's an exciting time, but a busy time. And things might be a little weird as far as both hosts being able to make it for every episode, but we are going to do our damn best. But anyways, again, thank you, Maria Rusche, for talking with us. Next week, you can join us as we discuss Bottoms. I promise we will both be there for it. Other than that, you can go check us out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Pandora, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, wherever you get your podcasts. We are there. And you can check us out on social media, Instagram and Twitter. Other than that, see you next week, folks.